may fall. Listen to the lyrics. Have to take control. If it's up to us, we to take. It's up to us at the end. Peace and love to the beautiful people, my elite and light ones. Welcome to the Darus Corbin Mystery School. Class is definitely in session. Peace and love to the brother Bobby Brown. Of course, I do not own the copyrights to this song. But to my 80s babies, how many of y'all remember this song from the movie Ghostbusters 2? And research while I'm doing this presentation, it might have been in 1988. Ghostbusters 2 might have been in 1988. But anyway, how many of you remember the scene from the movie when the song was being played? You know, I remember it. I remember the urgency, the need to answer the call to action. Excuse me, the urgency and the need to answer the call to action. Years later in 2021, here I am, the son of the mother god, me. Now back to it once again in the age of Aquarius, answering the call of action. Now, if you've seen part 1, chapter 1, the whole pie that I gave you on on COVID-19 and the Indigenous Saviors, and you actually watched that video in its entirety and you got the lesson, then what I'm doing this time around is I'm giving you more of the whole pie, but this time I'm giving you it through slices. I'm giving you more of the whole pie. But this time I'm breaking it down in slices. So I hope you got your pen, paper, and we're going to do some research now. I want you to listen up, sit back, listen up, because I want you to understand something. There is nothing wrong with you watching CNN, Fox News, those media news outlets. But what is wrong, family? What is wrong is that you're taking everything that you see in these news media outlets for truth. For truth. How many of us out there do that? You might watch your CNN and your whole day, besides working, besides raising your children, besides relaxing, is watching CNN. This is no shade, Fox News and your local news media. I know a lot of people who their whole day is really wrapped around what has been fed to them through news medias. So I do feel as human beings, as people with the minds that we have and the minds of great advancement, that we should research what is being told to us, not to take everything into truth and believing everything that you hear. Because even on my channel, from the great late teacher, Dr. Delbert Blair, he said there is no truth until you decide what truth is. So when you hear me giving you presentation after presentation, oh, it's knowledge, oh, it's lessons, oh, it's gnosis, but do your research, especially if you feel a certain type of way, either positive, negative, or in between about it. Research it so you can get your own outlook and outtake. But back to what I'm saying is, there is nothing wrong, I feel, with watching these news outlets, but when they're giving you news, I do feel like it's an obligation as for us, me, you, as human beings with wisdom, to be able to research what we are being told. So tonight, I'm going to give you some of my research that I have researched. And I want you to listen up. Leave comments. Listen, class is in session. Leave comments. Let me know how you feel about this, because this is we as a people. We cannot let race, sex, your belief, whatever you want, you cannot let that divide us as people. We are an extension, all coming from one source. We are all great in the fact that we all come from greatness. Us, we are one. Frankie Beverly and Mays told us we are one. Frankie Beverly and Mays told us that we are one. So what I'm going to do now is ask you once again for the pen and pad, and for those who have the mental skill, that's all to the good too. Because how many of y'all back in the day remember, or even recently, the warnings of global warming? Let me say that again. The warnings of global warming. I'm 36. I'm sure a lot of you out there remember as adolescents, you know, hearing stories about the rainforest and how the rainforest is being demolished by people who are just only invested for the money and not for the land and the people and the well-being of the land and the people, just off what they can financially profit off of these indigenous lands. We were warned about that, all right? Like the rainforest, these indigenous lands. We were warned about overpopulation. A lot of this has drained the planetary resources, and results like COVID-19 is the reason for this. Let me say that again, because now we the people must speak up. We're going to see really how much for the people we are by the time you watch this presentation tonight. And I thank you for watching. Let me say that again. Let me say that again. Because remember when we were kids, we were told about global warming and what will happen if we did not heed the warnings back then. Unfortunately, family, we as a planet did not heed those warnings. So things like COVID-19 are a result of that. And now listen, before you get in your feelings, for you get up too upset or too anxious, if you don't want to take my word for it, that's why I'm making this presentation tonight. I want you to read I want you to read as well, but listen to what I read to you from this article. And for those who watched chapter 1, The Whole Pie, you know the names of the people and the groups that are really giving us this information. So I don't want to hold too much of our time up. I hope you got your pens, your paper ready. Welcome to the Darus Corbin Mystery School. So before I go in one more time to answer everybody's question, what happens after we have not as a planet heed the warnings of global warming? And our answer, the Planetary Emergency Plan. The Planetary Emergency Plan. Now, this is what separates we the people from we the mice. Because if we are really now we the people, we're going to stand up for what we need to believe in and stand up for a better world and stand up for a better us, unity, love, compassion, truthfulness. Planetary Emergency Plan. You ready? Let's start the show. We are in the midst of a planetary emergency plan. Let me make sure this is on break. We are in the midst of we are in the midst of a planetary emergency facing climate, biodiversity, and health crisis. By addressing these as one integrated challenge, we can bring back balance between people, planet, and prosperity. Are y'all with me? I'll read that again. We are in the midst. Now, have you heard this, guys, from CNN, Fox News? No shade. I'm just asking questions here. Leave comments. Come on, guys, leave comments. This is real shit here. We want to enter the age of Aquarius. We want to be able to be on one page with the cosmos. This is what we're going to have to address first as a people. I'm going to read that again. We are in the midst of a planetary emergency facing climate, biodiversity, and health crisis. By addressing these as one integrated challenge, we can bring back balance between people, planet, and prosperity. And I'm about to read the planetary boundaries. Let's blow this page up if we can. The Climate Planetary Emergency Impact Hub aims to ensure that the transformation detailed in the Planetary Emergency Plan are adopted and raise awareness of the need for an integrated emergency response and the opportunity for transformation that emergence offers. Now listen to this. Like I said in the first video, I want you to, for those who remember and for those who can Google, let's Google when the first known coronavirus attack or hit was, not just in the world, but in the US. Look at the dates, look at the years. Now listen to this. This was published in 2019. Listen closely, we the people. Published in 2019, listen. The Planetary Emergency Plan provides a set of key policy levers to address the cross-cutting challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, and human health and well-being. Through implementing these actions, we can emerge from emergency and ensure long-term resilience and well-being within our planetary boundaries. Now let me read that again, because on my channel I like to make sure we're on the same page. Published in 2019, keep in mind of the year, the Planetary Emergency Plan provides a set of key policy levers to address the cross-cutting challenges of climate change, biodiversity loss, and human health and well-being. Through implementing these actions, we can emerge from emergencies and ensure long-term resilience and well-being within our planetary boundaries. Keep listening, it gets interesting. For years, scientists warned about the risk of straying beyond our planetary boundaries. I shall read that again. For years, scientists warned about the risk of straying behind, let me say that again, correct myself. For years, scientists warned about the risk of straying beyond, our planetary boundaries. Listen up. The limits to growth, and that's going to be another piece of the pie you're going to get in the next video. The Limits to Growth report issued the first warning about unsustainable human activity on our planet 50 years ago. Let me read that again. The Limits to Growth report issued the first warning about unsustainable human activity on our planet 50 years ago, people. In 1972, its authors, plural, made the case that unlimited growth in population, material goods, and resources on a finite planet would eventually lead to the collapse of Earth's environmental and economic systems. Yet, it was only in 2020 that public at large experienced the real impact of the encroachment of humanity on these limits through a zoonotic disease called COVID 19. Now, after I get done with this video, I am going to hit up CNN and the people who watch CNN, Fox News, the people who watch Fox News. And I want we, the people, to have a great discussion on what I'm reading. We are in the age of Aquarius. We are the age of the no. Understand that you are greater people, but we must come together as a people and embrace the Mother God. Sophia the wisdom. For my church-going people, especially my Christians, you must at this time know the whole story of who you are. Every religion on this planet is really purposely supposed to bring everybody together through different sets and beliefs. But over the terms and years, religion was made for war and politics. And the true symbol and symbolic and true meaning, the true gnosis of religion was tainted, watered down, destroyed. But I don't want to go off topic. That's for a whole nother presentation. So for my people who do watch the news, I'm going to read that again. For years, and that's for years, scientists warned about the risk of straying beyond our planetary boundaries. The Limits to Growth report issued the first warning about unsustainable human activity on our planet 50 years ago. In 1972, its authors made the case that unlimited growth in population, material goods, and resources on a finite planet would eventually lead to the collapse of Earth's environmental and economic systems. Yet, it was only in 2020, the year after, that the public at large experienced the real impact of the encroachment of humanity on these limits through a zoonotic disease called COVID 19. Now, for my people who watched chapter 1 and they got the whole pie on the last video, you know I gave you a set of keynotes. I'm not going to go over those keynotes. If you are interested in those keynotes, watch chapter 1. But zoonotic was one of those key words. And we the people, since we're having this conversation right now on the Darus Corbin Mystery School channel, have you let me know, I need comments. Let me know, have you heard through any of these news media outlets, or have you heard personally of COVID 19 being called a zoonotic disease? And I'll spell that for you so you can do your research. That's why, of course, you have the pen and the paper. Zoonotic, that's spelled Zoonotic. And I'm going to keep on going. We're 18 minutes in. Living our lives as if Earth is infinite and shock resistant, as we are doing today, it says, is pushing our planet towards a series of tipping points that will become the greatest essential threat to humanity. Decades of exponential consumption and population growth have come to imperil the Earth's climate and life-supporting systems while reinforcing social and economic inequalities globally. I'm going to take a little drinking break, and I just want y'all to digest what you heard so far. Digest what you heard thus far. Here we go. Once again, the Planetary Emergency Plan. Too often, interconnected crises are viewed in silos, and that's SILOES. When there is an urgent need to address them as one integrated challenge, let's read it how it's supposed to be read. Too often, interconnected crises are viewed in silos when there is an urgent need to address them as one integrated challenge. The Planetary Emergency Plan, which was drafted in partnership with the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research, or better known as PIK, aims to do just that. First published, once again, listen, in 2019, the Planetary Emergency Plan provides a set of key policy levers to address the cross-cutting challenges of climate change, biodiversity, loss, and human health and well-being. The plan outlines a vision of transformation and regeneration, a roadmap for governments and other stakeholders to shift our societies and economics to bring back balance between people, planet, and prosperity. Only then can we truly emerge from emergency. The plan is a novel contribution to the emergency debate, recognizing the inextricable interconnectedness of the three challenges referred to above and providing an alternative approach to conventional siloed. Sectoral policy action. It combines a focus on protecting and restoring our global commons with implementing a series of economic and social transformations to guarantee the long term health and well being of people and planet. Since being launched at the UN Climate Action Summit in 2019, say, huh? Say what? In 2021, since we're really big on the climate thing right now, aren't we? Listen, since being launched at the UN Climate Action Summit in 2019, the Planetary Emergency Plan has been infused into international discussions on climate, biodiversity, sustainable development, and global risk. It forms the foundation of a global planetary emergency partnership and has inspired global campaigns and policy efforts. COVID 19 has further exposed our vulnerabilities and reinforced the case for emergency action. Therefore, the Planetary Emergency Plan 2.0 accurately reflects the convergence of three urgent crises, which is climate, biodiversity, and health, and guides the work of Planetary Emergency Partnership post COVID. Now, for some of you, this just might be a bunch of rambling on, but some of you, your jaws should be dropping right now. Because even though this may not sound like nothing to some people, this is everything to a lot of people who weren't even told this through their local or through the well-known news medias. Maybe for, I guess, in their own mind, good reasons. But I'm gonna read that again because I want to make sure it gets inside the conscious and the subconscious. COVID-19 has further exposed COVID-19 has further exposed our vulnerabilities and reinforced the case for emergency action. Therefore, the Planetary Emergency Plan 2.0 accurately reflects the convergence of three urgent crises, which are climate, biodiversity, and health, and guides the work of the Planetary Emergency Partnership post COVID. Here we go, the Planetary Emergency Partnership. And then we're going to, in here, we're going to probably jump on a whole nother, actually, we're going to hit you with a whole nother part too. Why not? The Planetary Emergency Partnership, PEP, initiated by the Club of Rome and Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research with initial partners WWF, not to be confused with World Wrestling Federation, and Nature for Climate, brings together more than 350 partners from across the climate, biodiversity, and health communities, including scientists, policymakers, business leaders, youth representatives, and NGOs. The partnership strives to bridge silos, and once again, that's SILOES, and raise awareness for an integrated, systematic approach that addresses the convergence of climate, biodiversity, and health tipping points. Now, that's the end of that article. I'm going to jump right into the limits of growth. And I thank you guys for rocking with me once again. So, at the end of the day, you remember This whole presentation is called COVID-19 and the Indigenous Saviors because, like you heard, this is a planetary emergency plan. So if you watch chapter one, the whole pie, and if you obviously understand by the title, you understand what their plan is and who are the main heroes in saving the planet. That's at the end of the day, no matter what I read to you. This is what I want you to make clear, no matter who you are. Let me say that again as I continue to look for limits to growth. Because of us not heeding the warnings of global warming, we are dealing with a lot of the stuff that we are dealing with, just like COVID-19. This limits to growth that I'm about to break down for you, that was published in 1972, forewarns us, predicts stuff like what we're dealing with now, so such as COVID-19, which, as you just heard, they call a zoonotic disease. So it left us needing, and with the help of people like the COR, Club of Rome, these think tanks, they have now came up with the only hope for us as a planet right now, family. Listen, where's Captain Planet when you need him? Where's the Planeteers when you need them? So now the only hope for the planet now is what they're saying in a nutshell are the indigenous people. They have observed, of course, by going inside the lands of Africa and other great indigenous lands such as Australia, to the great Australia Aborigines, into these lands and seeing how these people, amongst all type of pain and strife, have overcome based off their natural ways of loving Mother Earth and not just abusing but utilizing the resources that Mother Earth has to offer. Now these scientists and these think tankers are like, oh my gosh, we have been knocking, we have been hurting, raping, murdering the indigenous people and their descendants so long, and predecessors, successors so long, that in actuality, when it all said and done, this planet is going to have to go back and go to, and like some of you guys have said amongst each others, so to speak, back to the old ways. This is what this is. For those still watching in 28 minutes, this is what this is. This is why this is so serious. And what they're discovering, people, is that not just in Africa, because it's been going on in Africa and other places for so long, but now in America, this white and black divide that has been happening for so long, and what we have been seeing from the outcry and the non-justice and the retardation of a race. We are now seeing that everybody in the so-called think tankers, the 1% that you might want to call them, the powers that be, they all know now that they have no choice but to rely on the not just the indigenous people, but the descendants, the new generation of the indigenous people. So let's finish up with the Limits to Growth book and study and give you a quick breakdown on what that all means. Now, thank you for watching. Like I said, we the people, and we use that word a lot, we the people, but it's time to really focus on us as a people, us as not just humans, but spiritually divine beings in this world. only for a limited time. So while we are on this planet, utilize every gift, every lesson that you have. Limits, the limits to growth. The limits to growth. It says here on Wikipedia is a 1970 report on the exponential economic and population growth with finite supply and resource study by computer simulation. The study used a World 3 computer model to simulate the consequence of interactions between the Earth and human systems. The model was based on the work of J. Forrester of MIT. I'm sure you guys know MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Let's continue going. Listen, commissioned by the Club of Rome, findings of the study were first presented at the International Gathering in Moscow in Rio de Janeiro in the summer of 1971. Listen to the year. The report authors are, and we're going to leave them the names out right now, you can research. The report concludes that without substantial changes in resource consumption, the most probable result will be a rather sudden and uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity. Let's read that again. But it says representing a team of 17 researchers, this think tank group from Italy, 17 of them, the report concludes that without substantial changes in resource consumption, and I quote, the most probable result would be a rather sudden and uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity, end quote. Although its methods and premises were heavily challenged on this publication, subsequent work to validate its forecast continued to confirm that insignificant changes had been made since 1972 to significantly alter their nature. And I hope you guys are listening and really breaking this down with me. So in 1972, the MIT came up with its computer model in 1972 to predict the outcome if we kept going the way we were going back then, right? This model, this computer-based model predicted that if we do not slow down with overpopulation without destroying these lands and just using them for gold and shit like that, then consequently we're going to have to suffer with the shit like we're going through now with COVID-19 and other natural disasters. So at the end, this model, 1972 model by MIT, was proven correct. Let's keep on reading. I'm going to read that last part once again. Although its methods and premises were heavily challenged on its publication, subsequent work to validate its forecast continued to confirm that insignificant changes have been made since 1972 to significantly alter their nature. Since its publication, some 30 million copies of the book in 30 languages have been purchased. It continues to generate debate and has been the subject of several subsequent publications. I want to continue on the purpose of it. And listen, in commissioning the MIT team to undertake the project that resulted in LTG, the Club of Rome had three objectives: gain insights into the limits of our world system and the constraints it puts on human numbers and activity. Number two, identify and study the dominant elements and their interactions that influence the long-term behavior of world systems. And number three, to warn of the likely outcome of contemporary economic and industrial policies with a view to influence changes to a sustainable lifestyle. And let's listen to the conclusion of the 1972 computer-based model that warned us through the book and the studies limits to growth what would happen if we did not do it, and family, we did not do it. So what I'm saying is, in 34 minutes, that we are watching CNN, Fox News, and no shade, but we are watching these news media groups, and we are given this one story to run with, but we're not really getting a backdrop. I'm tell me through comments, have you heard this much information through your news media? Just leave a comment, thumbs up, thumb down, whatever. But we're having a grown, spiritual, humane discussion here. We the people, right? Man, come on now, people. Come on now. These are the conclusions now. After reviewing their computer simulations, the research team came to the following conclusions. Number one, if the present growth trends in world population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion continue unchanged, the limits to growth on this planet will be reached sometime within the next 100 years. I think I need a drink. Listen, I know for the ones who are watching this right now, I'm very appreciated. And listen, I appreciate you too. We're in the age of Aquarius, damn it. Time for you to be better. Deserve better, get better. Let me read that again. Subscribe to the channel, family. I'm just getting warmed up. If the present, these are the conclusions from 1972. If we didn't get it together, and we didn't give Mother Nature, Mother Earth, her props, and we didn't, well, they didn't. Number one, these are the conclusions. If the present growth trends of world population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion continued unchanged, the limits to growth on this planet that we live in, my people, will be reached sometime within the next 100 years. And family, this is in 1972, so you do the math and then you leave it on the comments. How many years we got left for those watching? And I'm going to read that again. If the present growth trends in the world population, industrialization, pollution, food production, and resource depletion continued unchanged, the limits to growth on this planet will be reached sometime within the next 100 years. The most probable result will be a rather sudden and uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity. Now let's read that last part again. The most probable result, and we are in 2021 right now, right? The most probable result will be a rather sudden and uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity. Family, you watch bullshit every day. We digest bullshit every day, some of us more than others. When it's time to pay attention to some real shit, I expect us to pay attention to some real shit as humans and spiritual people on this planet. Now, we know what we've been going through as of 2021. I'm going to read that again for you. The most probable result is set in a 1972 computer-based model predicting what will be happening if we continue to use the resources which we did and not listen to global warming. The most probable result would be a rather sudden and controllable decline in both population and industrial capacity. Now, by a show of hands, don't worry, I can see you. This is going to be a hard one here, guys. Let me ask you this question. And shout out to the person who said, that's what she said. The most probable result would be a rather sudden and uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity. Family, would you say that we have seen a rather sudden and uncontrollable and uncontrollable decline in both population and industrial capacity. You agree? Okay, let's keep moving on. It is possible to alter these growth trends and to establish a condition of ecological and economic stability that is sustainable far into the future. There was hope. There still is hope, believe it or not. The state of global equilibrium could be designed so that the basic material needs of each person on Earth are satisfied and each person has an equal opportunity to realize his individual human potential. Family, I hope at almost, it is 40 minutes. And I'm going to kick back for a moment because when you're given the truth and you're protected by the divine, I promise you, the mother and the father God, then you fear nothing and you just give the message to the people because that is my mission, my divine purpose on this life. There was hope in 1972, and believe it or not, there is still hope. So let me read that again. It is possible to alter these growth trends and to establish a condition of ecological and economic stability that is sustainable far into the future. The state of global equilibrium could be designed so that the basic material needs of each person on Earth are satisfied and each person has an equal opportunity to realize his individual human potential. Number 3, let's go. If the world's people decide to strive for the second outcome rather than the first, the sooner they begin working to attain it, the greater will be their chances of success. And it says limits to growth introduction. The introduction goes on to say, these conclusions are so far reaching and raise so many questions for further study that we are quite frankly overwhelmed by the enormity of the job that must be done. We hope that this book will serve to interest other people in many fields of study and in many countries of the world, to raise the space and time horizons of their concerns, and to join us in understanding and preparing for a period of great transition, the transition from growth to global equilibrium. And family, I'm going to stop there because I told you the first video was the whole pie. If you listen to the presentation, the title, if you listen to the title, the answer is right there. COVID-19 and the Indigenous Saviors. COVID-19 and the Indigenous Saviors. You have no need to wonder now if you are greater or not. There are so many signs that are coming that are here now that let you know that you are greater. All you must do is know within that brain of yours every day from the moment you fall asleep to the moment you wake up. Know that you are greater, but most importantly, aim for greatness. That is the only way that you will succeed in this world. So thank you for accepting this first slice from the whole pie. I hope that the truth pie went down smooth. Because I'm going to keep on giving you slices, not too much more. I want you to be able to go ahead and pick your own slice up and eat as you will. But I thank you nonetheless. So until next time, wake up every day ready to win. Know that you are greater. Thank you for joining the Darus Corbin Mystery School, the home of the Esoteric and Metaphysical Gnosis class. Session.